Alrighty, it is 11:01, so we'll get started. Thanks everyone so much for joining our MWEE practitioner webinar today. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Elise Trelligan. I coordinate the BWET program for NOAA Chesapeake Bay office. And this is a series that's been running for quite a while now. We run these through the winter time, and our 2022-2023 session is coming to a close today. I will offer that if folks have ideas for, webinars, or you'd like to be featured or share something really unique related to MWEEs, you can always reach out to us. We are starting to plan for our next season. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar will be recorded, and because of that, we ask that you keep your camera off. And at the end of the session today, we'll have a chance for people to come on, and we'll see kind of the grid like we have right now. And we'll be able to chat a little bit. Like I said, the session is going to be recorded and it will be posted on the Bay Program's YouTube page on the MWEE practitioner channel. I'll drop that into the chat now. On there, you can find about 30 videos that we have archived. You can share these with any of your colleagues or folks that you think might be interested. This webinar will be up probably in 1 or 2 weeks after. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, we encourage you to pop them into the chat. Sometimes an idea comes and you might forget it by the time we get to the end. So we'll also pitch any pertinent questions that feel really relevant to our speakers today as they come in. And then we'll save some of the bigger picture ones till the end. I did also want to share just a couple of things that we have on the horizon for this summer. We have a number of workshops through the NOAA Environmental Science Training Center that are coming up, a lot of them focused on climate. I'm dropping a link in the chat right now that has where you can access these, but just briefly, at the beginning or the end of June, we have our Mid-Atlantic Climate Change Education Conference on June 21st and 22nd. Registration isn't quite open for this yet, but it's coming soon. You can save the date on your calendars. We also have on July 17th, 18th, and 20th, the Summer Institute for Climate Education. That's more of a national oriented conference for the first 2 days. And then the third day is our Mid-Atlantic cohort, which NOAA Chesapeake Bay office helps to coordinate. And then lastly, in late July, July 31st to August 4th is our annual Teachers on the Estuary or TOTE workshop that's run in partnership with CBF, Maryland Chesapeake National Estuarine Research Reserve. It's a field-based program and it's lots of fun. Registration for that is also open now, and you can check that out in the link that we just dropped. With that, like I said, this is our last webinar of the season. We're really excited for you all to be here, to dig in, ask questions, and this is an amazing project that we're really excited to share with you today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nanette.
Great. Thank you so much, Elise. Bill, can you go ahead and share the slides? So thank you. This is the Shared Waters Project. We call ourselves an upstream downstream partnership. First, I wanted to say thank you so much to NOAA for supporting this project and for allowing us to participate in this webinar series. We have a great team. So when we talk about Shared Waters, we truly are a collaborative group. Again, my name is Nanette Dietrich, and I'm a professor of STEM education. We also have Bill McConnell. He's from Virginia Wesleyan University, and he's the director of teacher education. We have Dr. Abdul Ibrahim, who is a professor of instructional technology at Millersville University, and Dr. Ann Guadino, who's a professor of leadership also at Millersville University. So they're all on the webinar today, and we'll be speaking in turn, so we'll be passing the slides between us. Beyond just the co-PIs and the PIs of the project, we also have bringing in a lot of local and school partners. So Millersville University is partnering with the Penn Manor School District. Virginia Wesleyan University is partnering with Norfolk Collegiate Academy. And then we have a lot of informal education partners that we're working with, including, of course, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We have the Lancaster County Conservation District. Bill, you want to go over the V8 partners?
Sure. Norfolk Collegiate has a good partnership with master gardeners who have helped with native species to plant for their stewardship activity. Also at Virginia Wesleyan, we partner with Norfolk Botanical Gardens, and they were able to help us help our teachers develop really tailored lessons in that first year, and also walk us around campus and tell us what they know about the species on our campus. So we've had some really great partnerships with our group.
So our title of our project again is Shared Waters, and that is a purposeful title with a collaboration between Millersville University and Virginia Wesleyan University. We are watershed neighbors. So we're both within the Chesapeake Bay, and Millersville being the upstream partner and Virginia Wesleyan being the downstream partners. Our grant is unique because of this collaboration between states. Throughout our work, we try to emphasize that what we do in Pennsylvania impacts the health of the Chesapeake Bay and also impacts our downstream neighbor, being Virginia Wesleyan and Northville Collegiate. We're systematically implementing MWEEs in 4th grade classrooms in Pennsylvania with the Penn Manor School District. That school district shares the same land as the MU campus and serves the surrounding students. And at Northville Collegiate, who's working with Virginia Wesleyan, we're systemically implementing MWEEs in all of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classrooms. The MWEE implementation is done in a unique way. So we're helping the teachers in the schools implement the MWEE, but we're doing it in cooperation with our colleges of education at Millersville and Virginia Wesleyan. Both institutions have a rich heritage of training the next generation of teachers. So tapping into our teachers, our pre-service teachers, allows us to not only share the MWEE a message and tools with current teachers, but also the future generation of teachers, thus multiplying the scope, we hope, and the reach of MWEEs across Pennsylvania and Virginia. So in this model, we integrate MWEEs, of course, in the schools, but also in an early core course in our elementary education teacher prep programs. So we are implementing MWEEs and environmental education within some of these core courses. When we think about that, can anyone think of, I'd like you to put in the chat, if you're thinking of teacher education and how we prepare our teachers, what subjects or courses do you think would be a good place to integrate environmental education? So plop that in the chat. All courses, I like that. So we got foundations of education, of course, science methods, that's a good one. Anyone else have any ideas? Methods courses, science course, agriculture course? History, nice. Literature, earth science, math. Well, in our project, we're really embracing the idea that environmental education is an interdisciplinary subject. And we say if it's interdisciplinary, it should have many places where it can fit. And with our pre-service education, we wanted to pick a core course so that we knew that every single pre-service teacher would be impacted at our institution. And we also wanted it to be an early field course. We wanted it to be early in their preparation because we really wanted it to impact them as they're moving farther along in their education. So I'm going to pass it over to Bill and Abdul, who we're going to tell you what courses that we chose to implement the MWEE in.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and start. And Virginia Wesleyan, we chose to put it into the classroom management course. Gosh, if you're an informal educator, if you've ever done any MWEEs, I'm sure that you've seen the need for classroom management or behavior management within the instruction, right? There's safety issues, there's behavior issues sometimes, there's preventative management. All of that goes into what we do every day in environmental education. So what better place to put it, I thought. And it really has worked out rather well. So we're going to dive deeply into what we did here at Virginia Wesleyan and at Norfolk Collegiate. First of all, we helped give them our pre-service teachers a little bit of content knowledge or pedagogical knowledge about MWEEs and environmental ed through the MWEE 101. And of course, I supplied a little bit of supplemental content as well. My students were able to take part in nearly every one of the essential elements for the MWEE integration in the schools. They provided a virtual introduction to the unit. As you know, in many elementary MWEEs, the teacher provides that driving question at the beginning. So we wanted to make that very engaging and show that there was a partnership at the beginning. So our students actually presented that driving question to the third, fourth, and next year fifth graders. We provide a lesson for students to gain that background knowledge that they need to define the issue. And then our students were able to assist teachers in both the outdoor investigations and the environmental action projects. And all of these things in my class, I was able to integrate classroom management practices within that. So I'll just give you an example. This picture at the top of the page here with the Enviroscape and my two pre-service teachers spraying the water on the Enviroscape, that was a conscious decision because they were absolutely terrified that students were going to spray that water on each other. Now, this was a good conversation for us after they chose that, right? So could it have been an opportunity to get the students more engaged when they're spraying it if you set expectations ahead of time? Could you have modeled that and then allowed a student to do it? The same thing with the picture down below. When my students understand that they are, using theories to try to, management theories to go outside with tools to clear invasive species or to plant things, they were able to really connect those management theories to what they're doing outside with kids. We don't normally do that in a classroom management class, but this context really provided a unique way to learn management and to be able to apply what they're learning in my classroom. So let's dive deeply into what exactly happened. So I'll just give you a primer. I only gave my students one class period, which is an hour and 15 minutes, to develop a video that had the driving question in it and to excite the students and edit it all. And I was really pleased with what they did. And a lot of this is because they're excited about getting in the classroom, and this is a meaningful context for them. So I'm going to share that with you, and I hope it works out. Here we go.
Hi, Norfolk Collegiate former grade students and teachers. We're your students at Virginia Wesleyan University.
Wesleyan and Millersville University need your help to better understand water quality in the larger watershed, the Chesapeake Bay watershed.
How can you keep our waters healthy?
We will come visit you all throughout the year to help with this problem.
And we can't wait for you guys to visit us on March 24th.
Okay, so that video was developed really quickly, and I was pretty pleased with what they did. And the great thing is that we were going to visit this classroom, or those particular students were going to visit that particular fourth grade classroom the following week. So when they came in, the students knew their faces. They were excited to see them. Some of them actually were like, "Oh, you were the one who did that." So it was really great. And it started the unit for the students. And as you heard in that video, hopefully the audio is good. We are visiting them this week. Or they're visiting us on campus this week to do some environmental education stations and things like that. So we're extremely excited, and our students are in the middle of developing all that. The next slide I'm going to show you is just a quick video of one of the lessons that these very green teachers created. Again, focusing on management, but also environmental education. This was the first year's lesson. The students had already understood that invasive species were on their playground, but they didn't know much about them. One of the points of issue definition is aligning it to the curriculum. Seed dispersal is part of the curriculum. Adaptations is part of the curriculum. So my students were able to make a seed dispersal lesson incorporating nonfiction literature, so and also management. I'll play this one for you.
Water and an uncrowded place to put down roots. To find all of these things, a seed must have a home and it must move. So we can do this first one together. A seed hitchhikes. So what do you think this is going to go under?
Animals.
Animals, right. So spiky, stick-tight seeds snag in a raccoon's fur and hitch a ride. They may travel a long way before they fall off. So you see these seeds right here?
So if you guys want to find animals on your sheets, and if you want to write down how the seeds can stick to the fur of the animals.
Okay, so in that one, it's just a simple lesson, but my students really had to figure out how to keep them engaged. They had to set expectations for what they were going to do when they're listening to the reading of this book. It's nonfiction, which is another thing that ties into their curriculum. And also later, what ended up happening is when they're doing their outdoor investigation, they find the seeds, they try to predict how those seeds are dispersed and how to stop those seeds from dispersing. So it was a really good introductory lesson for background knowledge. And my students were able to, figure out some of the management things that go along with planning that lesson. And they did a really good job, I thought.
Water and an uncrowded place to put.
So how does this impact my particular students? What I found that it impacted was not just that they learned how to, they learned about environmental education methods like MWEEs. They learned down here at the bottom, they learned about instructions with transitions, procedures, and behaviors, and how much those impact teaching. But they really, doubled down on, yes, I do want to become a teacher. So this was something that was incredibly meaningful for my students. And again, as Nanette hinted to, this is something that got our students excited to be in this program, to be in the education program, and to get out there and teach kids. So we were really happy with the impact it's had. Okay, so switching gears, I'm going to ask you, we're going to play a quick game. 2 truths and a lie. So this was a management class, and we did lots of stuff with students outside. So these 3 things that I've put up on the screen here, 2 of them are the truth and 1 is a lie. And what I'd like for you to do in the chat is just put the number down that you think is a lie, but don't enter it yet. Just put it in the chat for a second and we'll all enter at the same time, okay? So which one is a lie? A student brought his own loppers. There's a picture of loppers at the bottom if you don't know what they are. From home to clear invasive species. Think about what loppers might be in a book bag coming into a public school, what management issues that might. And then a student took a zip tie from our Build a Buoy challenge when they were at Virginia Wesleyan to strap his friend to the bus. Maybe that's a lie, I don't know. Or all pre-service teachers followed my directions to dress appropriately to clear invasive species with elementary students. So, okay, I'll give you a few seconds. All right, go ahead and enter in and enter. I can't see the chat, so can Nanette or Liz or somebody on my team tell me what numbers are coming up a lot?
It appears that number 3 is the big winner, except
Yes,
for
you are
Jewel. He
so
says
right.
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay. So number 3 is definitely the lie. That tells me that I have some behavior management problems of my own that I need to work on as a professor. But right when my students got there, one of the cooperating teachers, when my student was walking up to me, said, Oh, where are your pants? So obviously one student wore a little too short of pants to the elementary invasive species clearing. But just think about the good discussions we had off of number one. What happens with a zero tolerance policy for a student who brings in loppers? Of course, this was a private school, so it was a little bit different. But what would have happened if there were a zero tolerance policy for anything that could be used as a weapon in a student's book bag? Another big thing was the zip tie. How could we have prevented that from happening? Even though we did a lot of preventative measures with those zip ties and talked about the safety issues with them. A student did strap his friend to the bus and I had to go free him. So it was a really great discussion, and it gave them something to talk about and how different management theories would have responded to these types of management issues. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ibrahim.
Right, next slide, Bill. Slide. All right, so I think part of what we will discuss here, like one Nanette was talking about choosing the course, and you all responded a lot of courses. And I was thinking like, oh, now I teach foundations course. Maybe we can do something and try to integrate that into my foundations course and see how it's gonna work, right? But thinking about this is nobody think content like this can fit into a technology course, because like looking into maybe the principle of TPAC, so I have the technological knowledge and I have the pedagogical knowledge, right? I merged the two, but I don't have the content. So how will we gonna fit into that, right? But we make it happen, we make it work to prove that environmental education can work across every curriculum. So it's a multidisciplinary kind of thing, right? Just like what Bill mentioned at the beginning, also in the fall 2021, we also have students do an introductory video, right? Because even doing the videos to send to these kids, my students like have zero experience in the classroom, right? And all the things they were thinking about, most of their experience here, I was like, I did work with kids, I babysit a kid this age and this month, but that is entirely different from working in 4th grade classroom. So we asked them to make that introductory video, and the teachers select some of these good ones and they share with their students. And I believe the week that I'm taking my student in, because we realized how nervous they were, right? We have to invite these teachers from school to zoom into my class and tell them, hey, in education, we have room for mistake, right? We are learning and we're gonna mentor you and we're gonna provide you everything that you need. To add to that also, I believe Dr. Dietrich also has to visit my class like twice because she has all the science content knowledge. And we prepare the students and we find a suitable content that will fit in and provide them with that content knowledge that they don't have. That was the week I think we were doing the summer model of technology integration. So we were able to demonstrate and use EnviroScape and show them how we can go through all the stages of substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So they were very ready. And I can tell from also what Bill mentioned, when we get there, one of the things that I can remember from the fall 21 visit was I had a student who was telling some of the colleagues like, yeah, this is why I want to be a teacher. And I think I also shared it with my colleague when we get back, because like me and my boyfriend, we're always having an argument like, why do I have to be in education? I can do something else. But meeting the kids in their school for the first time, that student find her why for being a teacher. So thanks to this project. And as we go into also, I took a lot of opportunities to bring in resources to prepare students just for them to feel ready for this activity. So we have 6 schools, and a lot of time we go to the schools or we divide it based on groups and the students choose which school they want to get into. And in areas where I feel, oh, I don't have enough, I reach out to the team, like come and help with this kid. So let's give them what they need to prepare. And I believe about 2 weeks ago, Liz was in my class with Dr. Dietrich and with another professor who come in just to prepare my student to get ready for an activity to go into these schools. So all of these pictures you are seeing, or I think this is from 2 weeks ago or last week, right? Yeah, this is like the most recent activities that we have. And I also believe on the next slide, Bill, if we can go, there is a video just to show what we did, then I will talk a little bit on that as well.
Ooh, this is my favorite part of the book. Can everyone see this little phrase right here? Okay, so this happens 3 times in the book. So we're gonna all say it together, okay? I'll say it and you repeat. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. You think we can say it all together? Okay, ready? We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, so this activity, you can tell, oh, this is a technology course, but there is no any technology involved, right? So it's like a 2-group activity. This group read a book and have some cool activities to engage the kid in terms of their water footage or the use of water and how can we, or the reason that we need to conserve more water. The one that follows was the one that have a technology in which the student can actually calculate the amount of water they use. And at the end of that, they all take a pledge in many topics, like they will decrease the amount of water. This is the action that I want to take to make my water or the water around me healthy. And one of the things that I saw just yesterday, a lot of these children, like they notice what is happening, all the dirt we throw in water, all the oil spillage that we throw into waters. And then now they are feeling like, oh, I have the responsibility to do something for the health of the water around me, which is also eventually gonna affect the Chesapeake Bay. So part of that, the success from my own part is I look at it with how many student teachers were prepared to integrate this MWEE content into their education program. I know from the evaluation standpoint, and was going to talk to you a little bit about what the student was saying from this project, but just looking into the numbers. Bill, can we go to the next slide, please? Right, so you see, just looking into the numbers, like from the period of in the fall 2021, like I have 41 student teachers who were trained and they have been in these schools. Like that time we have one school, we pilot in one school. So they were there multiple times just to help and learn from these teachers on how to integrate watershed educational experience into the classroom. And they also all agreed this is something that they were going to do in their future classroom. So they have the technological knowledge to do that, and they also have the pedagogical knowledge in addition to content knowledge, which serve as a big plus from this project. And also in January, the spring 2022, we also trained 41 pre-service teachers in all these areas, and they also visit a different school. But the hallmark of it is for this semester, we have different groups, which we have in the fall 22, 26 pre-service teachers, which were divided into different schools. I think they were able to visit 4 different schools, and thanks to Liz as well. I think Liz visited like 6 different schools with these students, and also lead some cool activities when it comes to the implementation of this grant. Then I think I will hand it back to Nanette for teacher professional development.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill and Abdul, for talking about how we integrated the Shared Water Project into our pre-service teacher education. But I'm going to talk now about how we involved our classroom teachers, more of the traditional BWET model. So Bill, if you can go to the next slide. It all begins with teacher professional development. In year 1 of our project, it was 2021-2022 school year, we recruited our pilot teachers. In Pennsylvania, we recruited 4 teachers. In Virginia, we recruited 2 teachers. And we really followed a traditional professional development model. We brought them to our respective campuses for a week in the summer, where we provided them with a lot of content knowledge, pedagogy, and then set them loose to design their own MWEE for their individual classrooms. And then, and that seemed to go pretty well. And if you know, in year one, when you recruit that first group of teachers, you're always getting those teachers that love the unknown, that like to innovate, and are always looking for something new. And that really is what we recruited in year one. And then at the end of the 2022, in the spring of 2022, we went to recruit our next group of teachers. And if we can remember back to the 2021-2022 school year, it was hard. It was really hard for teachers. It was hard on students. We had a lot during that year, if you remember, where schools would shut down, they would come back, kids were out on quarantine back. We had the learning gap from the year before. Things were difficult, but teachers persevered. But by the spring of 2022, they were tired. So when we went in to recruit teachers, we could not get a single teacher to sign up. And we wondered why. So we were talking with the superintendent and the principals. They said, our teachers are tired. And they talked about how every year they recruit for summer school to get teachers for summer school, and they couldn't get anyone to sign up. The teachers are amazing, but by the end of the year, they were stressed, compassionate, and overworked. So as the teachers explained to us, they said they simply can't add one more thing to their plate, and they needed a summer. And so we're sitting here in the spring of 2022 going, how do we meet the needs of teachers where they are today? So we went to the superintendent and we pitched an idea. We wanted to change our model from that traditional summer workshop. And we said, how about if we create a model that takes work off the teacher's plates, provides support, and is helpful rather than asking them to do more, such as innovate and come up with new ideas. So what we did for that, we wanted to reduce the teacher workload. So we went to the with the superintendent, we said, how about if we create a comprehensive 10-lesson unit for schools that we're going to provide everything. We'll provide the lesson plans, we'll provide the materials, we'll provide the training. We have Liz, I don't think we introduced her, but Liz is our graduate assistant for the project. And she comes to us with great experience in environmental education from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And we said, we can send Liz out to support you. And so during that summer, faculty, us from Millersville University and Virginia Wesleyan University set about creating a comprehensive 10-lesson curriculum that would be ready to use in schools. And that was aligned to the brand new Pennsylvania STEELS standards. So we knew that schools in Pennsylvania were going to have to revamp their science curriculum to meet the new standards. And we said, hey, we can help you get a jump start on that. And during that summer, we also brought in 2 of our year 1 teachers to be part of that writing team. They edited our lessons, they provided feedback, they provided ideas that we incorporated into that unit. And then at the very first day of school for this current school year, we had our pilot teachers go back to the 4th grade on the very first day and pitch the new model. We were going to provide everything they needed, the lessons, the kits, do the professional development during the school day. So we brought subs in so that teachers could come out, and then provide that ongoing support throughout the school year. And the response really was overwhelming. We went from no one being willing to take on more to actually getting nearly every teacher in 4th grade saying they wanted to join. And so we were very fortunate. We went back to Noah, and Elise said it was okay if we exceeded our year 2 numbers in order to accommodate the desires of the teachers who wanted to be involved. So with this overwhelming response, we thought we have found what teachers needed at this time, post-pandemic, and are responding to what they needed to be able to be involved and to integrate the MWEE in the schools. So if we go to the next slide, the curriculum we created is that 10-lesson unit. It's built for, it can go around between 3rd grade, maybe up with some modification up to 7th grade. There's a QR code there that will take you to the Google Drive that houses the curriculum that we created. Inside that Google Drive, you will find on the first sheet, it will give you a complete comprehensive list of the lessons and the lesson plans and active links to all of the resources. And we said we wanted to give the schools a comprehensive curriculum. We will give them every PowerPoint, every worksheet, and we created kits that had all of the materials. It literally was an open the box, implement, and schools were ready to go. So Bill, I think you wanted to go over the list of the 10 lessons.
So this is our first page, the sort of overarching what's happening in the curriculum. And as you can see, there are all the partners that were on the project. It sort of gives an overview here of what's going on in the entire unit. But everything is really linked to this first page. So it's easy for the teachers to come to this site, click on where they want to go. We've got several lessons giving background knowledge and doing the issue investigation. We've got definitely different ideas for going outside and possibly staying inside for some of the investigations using technology, but also going outside and doing things out in bodies of water if they have something nearby, or possibly bringing the water in if they can't. So you've got the macroinvertebrates lesson, and then 9 and 10 are really getting into that action plan, the environmental action plan. All of these things are here. The only other thing I wanted to just quickly show you is, yes, it's linked to and aligned to Pennsylvania, and it will be to Virginia as well, this entire curriculum. But within the lessons, what is really, again, something that our teachers help us to do, when they went through it, they showed us things that they desire as teachers, right? Easy links to get to everything they need in the materials. Adaptations, possible extensions if they want to go further. Sorry about that. Also differentiation adaptations, and just simple things like this. What if we don't want to use the beads? What if the teacher just doesn't want to use beads? Well, they can't, they don't have to. They can use just this simple piece, right? So these are things that our teachers helped us with to develop something that all teachers in their grade level feel confident in being able to do. And I'm gonna turn it over to Liz after I get the slideshow back up. Sorry about the dog, I'm having an issue there.
Bill, if you can keep the slide up that you're on right now. Great. So if we look at the lesson design, so each lesson begins with a content overview. That's intentional because we found that many of, being an elementary education major, they don't have a lot of science background knowledge. And one of the barriers was the teacher feeling confident to be able to teach the content. So at the beginning of every lesson, we try to give them some background information on the subject. And then we, of course, had the materials. And then if you look down at the actual lesson plan, it is quite prescriptive. I mean, it gives them questions they could ask, ways to organize materials, how to set up the classroom. And to be very honest, when we were designing this curriculum, it was a fine line. The idea was, are we giving it so prescriptive that we're going to offend professionals? Because the teachers we're working with are professionals. They know how to implement lessons in their classroom. So when we went through our professional development, we talked about how, the curriculum we designed is very detailed. Read through it. They were able to follow it. The teachers really appreciated the detail rather than being offended. And then naturally, they can make modifications to fit their specific classroom because they're professionals. So we really provided that base of directions with the idea that teachers can use it as is, or they can modify it and make their own. So we're going to go into a deep dive just into the first two lessons to kind of give you the idea behind it. So with the lessons, we've really pulled from lots of sources. I've had a number of NSF grants in the past. We pulled activities from there, and we also pulled activities from great resources like Project Wet or Getting Little Feet Wet. And we tried to use, like for this lesson, we would use the publicly available lessons. So for this one, it's called All the Water on the Earth. It's the idea that we are the blue planet. We started out with an activity that does come from Project Wet, where they have a beach ball that is a globe. And in our kit that we provided teachers, we provided them with the blow up beach ball. What they do in that activity is they have their students play catch. And as they catch the ball, wherever their tip of their pinky is, they make a mark, whether it was land or water. Creating a T-chart as a class, they do a number of tosses and calculate what percentage of the earth is covered by water. And then we talk about, well, where is the water on the earth? And then we're diving into the water cycle, which students know about. They did that in first and second grade. And we tell them that we're going to give them a fourth grade understanding about where water goes. And so using another activity from Project Wet, we have the incredible journey, but we start with the teachers, the first year teachers have an activity they do in the middle where we just put a picture up and say, where in this picture is water? And then from there, we lead into the incredible journey of the water cycle. And if you look on the next slide, Bill, if you'll go there, we kind of took the idea from Project Wet, and then we had to think of something durable for teachers and for students. So if you look over on the bottom left there, you'll see our cubes that come, they have a different place, whether it's lake, ocean, air, and we use just plain old wooden blocks. And thankfully, Liz and some of my undergraduates were great art majors, our artists, and they went in and just using a Sharpie on a wooden block, we created sets of the incredible journey for them. And then of course we had the beads that we have, and they created their bracelets of their journey on the water cycle. So again, thinking of where on earth is all this water? In lesson 2, we really move into, wow, the earth has so much water. But water is actually scarce and very valuable when we look at fresh, usable water. So the first thing we did is a time-old demo that's been done forever, which is looking at if in this picture is all the water on earth, how much of it is usable as fresh water for students or for people. And so we go through, how much of it is salt water and doing that demo. And then the next thing we're looking at is we introduce the concept of a watershed. And that's actually a really difficult concept for students. The idea that watershed boundaries and runoff and how the water, if we're talking in a watershed, it really is the land and the water and where it goes to a common space. So we use an activity called the crumpled paper watershed. Again, this is an activity that you can find online in 20 zillion different places and iterations. We use the iteration that we did for our waters grant. It's an NSF funded grant. So we pulled that piece there. In this activity, they literally crumple a piece of art paper, spread it out, and they've created their own topographic map. And then they go in and they create their town, whether they add the orange here are houses, they add trees, they highlight the ridge lines, which are going to be our watershed boundaries, and then they put in where they think water will be, so where the streams, lakes, or rivers would be. And then they make it rain, and we are really getting at a misconception with students. Young people often think that water flows from north to south, which is often the case, but it doesn't flow from the top of the paper to the bottom, but actually it follows the topography of the land. So that is looking at our watershed and what happens with runoff and how we use the land and how it impacts our local water. So then using this, and again, the first 6 lessons, and so lesson 3, 4, 5, and 6, again, continue to build on that content knowledge about how we can be good watershed stewards. And then we take a break. So we do the first 6 lessons, usually in the fall is how we've done it because of weather. And then the school district, really, we were talking about that action plan. And the action plan takes time. And in our public schools, time is precious. So we've integrated this into their science time, but it's a very specific time per day, and we can't go over it. And so we look at the action project, we wanted to give it its due so that students could really engage in it, whether it took 2 hours or half a day or a couple days. And so in the public school realm, the best way to find time is to put it after the PSSA test, so after our state testing. So they do the first 8 lessons in the, in the fall, and then after PSSA, they return to the unit and they begin to look at their action project. So we split it up 2 times within the school year. And so now we're going to just show you some of the action projects. Each classroom does a different action project that they design. So the idea of giving students voice and choice. So Bill, I think that's you.
Yes, I'm going to try to get to that really quickly. So one thing that's really kind of unique about our project in general is the fact that
Bill, you have a large black box over the middle of your slide.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Gotcha. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one great thing about our project is that we're able to share across states, right? So everything we do, Nanette was talking about our traditional model. One of the things we kept from that is that we're able to share every month something that's going on in Virginia and something that's going on in Pennsylvania. And one way we can do that all the time is through our website, the Shared Waters website. So when we do these types of things, the teachers actually document what they're doing throughout. So this was one of the first outdoor experiences the students had in 3rd grade. And then, you know, all these things are here. But for Virginia Wesleyan, what we focused on and what Norfolk Collegiate focused on was invasive species that were really overtaking their playground. It was a perfect thing because students were actually irritated by it. It messed up their kickball game. So that was a perfect thing for them to try to get rid of. And they planted native species around that kickball, or they planted native species in place of the ivy. And you'll have a link to this website as well. For Pennsylvania, we had there were more teachers actually involved in the Pennsylvania in the first year. So we had several different things going on. Nanette, did you want to go ahead over those? I'll just share this. My dog is going crazy. I'm sorry.
Sure, absolutely. So if we look at Pennsylvania, some of the things they did with Mr. Showalker's class, they were, oh gosh, I don't even remember what they were doing. Oh, they were doing groundwater. So he actually used some of the MWEE funds to look at, to get a groundwater simulation. And if we go over to Katie's class, can we click over to Katie's? And Katie loves, she loves macroinvertebrates. So she was hoping that her students would choose a action project that had something to do with macroinvertebrates. But we talk about student voice and student choice. They were really enamored with the idea of how much water that they use, and that water was a precious resource. And so they wanted to create a school-wide pledge where they, keep going forward, where they decided to, there we go, to look at how they can reduce the amount of water. And then we have another activity here. This was at Eshelman School, and they have a problem with their playground. Their playground is a mess. And they wanted to redesign their playground, and they wanted to talk to the school board and say, not only would it be more fun if we had a new playground, but if we redesign this playground, we could make it so that it's more environmentally friendly and that it can make it a local environmental impact. So they were looking at the playground and how they could redesign it so that the water doesn't puddle and that it can infiltrate better. So that was their activity.
Thanks, Nanette. And I'm going to go back to the slideshow. One thing that while I'm getting to that, One thing that was great was the some of the stuff that is shared in our monthly Zoom meetings. My teachers here at Norfolk Collegiate pick up on and liked ideas, and were like, Katie Harnish's the way she did the PSA and linked it to data was just really resonated with the fourth grade teachers now that are working with me. So they've already started thinking about how that could possibly work once they've done some data collection, data analysis. So these are some great collaborations across states. And another great piece that is happening this year is we're sharing water quality data across states, just so we can see, are there differences? Are there similarities? Could these be related across the watershed? So these are all really good collaborations that I think have been beneficial to our teachers, our pre-service teachers, to see that collaboration and things like that. And I think it's Anne's turn.
Yep.
Thanks so much. So my role on this grant is somewhat different from my colleagues in that I serve as the grant evaluator. I do not teach any of these university students or the elementary students at all. And so I'm the outside person to come and see if what is being implemented is working, and more specifically, how it's working. And so this is done in several ways. I've conducted interviews with the principals at each school each semester, so 2 per year. I've spoken with teachers at the schools as well. I do on-site visits at the schools where I get to observe the elementary classes in action with teachers and with student teachers enacting these wonderful lesson plans that you have seen. And finally, pre-service teachers getting a survey regarding the use of the MWEE in their lessons and in their teaching. So there've been a lot of results, and I have to say, incredibly positive. What you have seen in these slides and what you have heard is really happening, and it's happening in an excellent way. And that has come to us resoundingly from the principals and the teachers, the student teachers as well. So the principals, if we could go back just a slide for a minute, the principals report that the interest in science education, in environmental education, enthusiasm from teachers as well as the students has increased to the point that other teachers and other grade levels want to be involved with this project. The teachers have felt that the hands-on activities have really increased the student interest and their understanding. And they, especially this year, were so grateful for the materials that Nanette had mentioned earlier, that in the previous year, they had been given the lesson plan, sort of the recipe, but this year they were given both the lesson plan, the recipe, and all the ingredients to make it happen. And they were grateful for that and said it was a tremendous time saver for them. The pre-service teachers indicate that their participation is very valuable to them, both now and as they move into teacher roles in the classroom. And they talk about the value in terms of science education, but also the classroom management techniques that you've heard throughout this, and classroom management outside of a classroom, out in the field. And that's something that our pre-service teachers don't always get to experience in other settings. And so this was new, and it was also very positive for them to learn how to manage a class outside and in these field environments. And then finally, my observations, which for me personally has probably been the most delightful part of getting to participate and seeing the children in action. Talking about, I think someone had put in the chat about classroom management, especially outside. Quite frankly, it's been almost a non-issue. The children are so engaged in these lessons, and without exception, every single child in a class being completely engaged, no goofing around or so on and so forth, during the class time. It's very, very captivating to them to be participating, and it's been wonderful to see that. So if we could go to the next slide, just in the people's own words. So the principals I just want to read these out loud because I think they're so heartwarming and they really speak to the points. Whatever you did at the teacher presentation, it was phenomenal. Teachers were so gung-ho. And I saw that too as I visited. The teachers were so enthusiastic. Teachers agreed, that the hands-on learning was riveting and that exploring the environment in which they live and understanding how we impact our water and water for others was just tremendously valuable. Of course, the pre-service teachers were also full of comments and lots of good ideas. And just want to give everyone a moment to read these comments from the pre-service teachers. And these are just a few of the comments, a few of the many comments from the university students. Again, overwhelmingly grateful to have participated in this and feeling that it was very applicable to them as teachers and their future classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. So the last thing we want to talk about is how we're sharing the word. Part of it was the teachers have worked so hard and they've been so engaging. The two teachers that are featured in the picture are the ones that helped us write the curriculum. That's Katie Harnish and Brad Showalter from Penn Manor School District. And they have gotten within their own state recognition for the great work that they've been doing on this project. So in Pennsylvania, one of our schools was a recipient of the MWEE School of Excellence Award, and in Virginia, recognition in science education, the RISE Award from the Virginia Association of Science Teachers. So we're so proud of our teachers. And then as faculty and a lot of our undergraduate students, we've been going across the country talking about shared water and spreading the MWEE message. So we've been doing that at a number of conferences, both practitioner for teachers and also for faculty and science researchers. So we went to the National Field Experience Conference, SITE, which is a technology conference. We did get to go to a Hawaii International Conference of Educators, the Virginia and SITE, and finally the North American Association of Environmental Education. So we're so excited to be able to spread the word of what we're doing. In the last slide, let's go to the next one, we have links. So if you wanted to find out, go back one. You want to go back, you can see links to be able to get to our project website, curriculum resources, and a blog post that we did for NOAA on the project. And finally, we just want to say a huge thank you to NOAA, to our school districts that we're working with, for being able to support the project that we're doing. Elise?
Thank you so much to our Shared Waters team. Give them a big virtual round of applause. And yeah, we can come back to our gallery view. And I know we just have 2 minutes before the hour, but definitely getting some kudos in the chat. I wanted to open it up to anybody who might have questions for our project team. And I'll also stop the recording now so folks can turn on their video if you want, and we can hear you ask questions out loud. So I'll shut that recording off, and feel free to either use the raise the hand feature under reactions, or you can just come off mute.